Aloha, children of the night, and welcome to another episode of the Tiki Goth Club. And today we're going to be talking about shrunken heads
Shrunken, yes.
and
Shrunken heads.
the weird and wild and disturbing history of these things. And they are legitimate. Like shrunken heads were like a real thing, right?
They were a real thing.
And it's not like
So-
that little apple thing that Vincent
No,
Price was
Vincent Price and his make your own shrunken head
out of apples.
out of an apple.
These were made out of real heads.
These were made, right? Yes. So, it goes back to those Victorians over and over and over again.
Here we go.
They brought us what we view as goth in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And they also brought us a lot of things that are really questionable that are part of the gothic type scene.
Yeah.
So a shrunken head, or what is known as a sansa.
Sansa. And I look and it actually has a T in front of it, but I guess that's
yes.
silent. Okay.
Yes, it has a T in front of it. There's a lot of severed heads. There's a lot of other head hunters and a lot of things like that go in the dark tiki kind of world. But the shrunken head seems to go to one particular place in the world, and that is
Sacramento, California.
This is the Quivero tribes that are in Ecuador and Peru in the Amazon area. And
which continent is that?
That would be South America.
South America.
Now, there are severed heads, which we can get into on another occasion, in many places in the world, because you have the concept of the ghost fence.
The ghost fence.
This is a particular spin on the ghost fence.
What's a ghost fence?
So a ghost fence is where you take...
There's nothing there, but it looks like there's a fence. No, there's actually a fence there. You just can't see it.
No, it's a fence made of dead
people. It only
people.
comes out at night.
So it's a fence made of dead people.
Yeah.
So in many cultures, in many periods of time, all over history, seeing your neighbor's head on a spike, or their body on a spike, or parts and pieces of them on spikes, is usually a big sign of not a friendly neighbor. Let's not go there.
Yeah.
So the ghost fence is that idea. So ancient Celtic peoples, they have them as in myriad times in history.
Yeah.
Where we're going to take our neighbor, we're going to cut our neighbor's head off, and we're going to put it out as a warning.
And you know what, Jeannie? I bet you they were so not aware that they'd be like, John, why don't we ever have anyone over for dinner? Right. I don't understand.
The ghost fence idea, it was so potent that they could even put it up as part of a wing in a battle, and their opponents would not cross it because it was such bad juju.
I just picture someone going to the Home Depot. Yeah, I'm looking for a ghost fence. Where do you have the material?
Yeah, it's right there by the no trespassing sign. The very specific Sansa, though, is a real specific spin on it. So, you need your ghost fences sometimes to be portable.
Okay.
And it's a lot of weight to carry around all those heads. So this particular indigenous people
they were clever and lazy.
Would take the head, because transporting a whole body back to camp is kind of a problem too. So the head would be taken, but you don't want this enemy to come back to get you. Yeah. And the soul exits through the mouth, right? So they would take the head, they would take the skull out of the head, which is why people are like, why are they so small? And it's because there are no bones in them. They're boneless.
Yeah, they take they're out in battle, they kill someone, and right there they're cutting off the head.
Yeah, they take the head,
but they're just bringing the whole head back with the skull in it at first. Okay.
And then they remove the skull and the inner parts. That got offered up to a river or an anaconda.
Okay.
And then there was an entire process for taking what's left, and turning it into a visage that could be small and portable.
Yeah.
And keep the essence of that murdered victim, right? in a place where it was only potent to you. It couldn't be used against you.
Okay.
So there, since 2020, and the repatriation of remains and things like that has become such a big deal. Um, and because they're people,
Yeah.
but it was also in this time period when the Victorians were collecting them, it became a business. So as they are going through these collections that were
But
in
no,
curio
no, wait, who's
cabinets.
buying them? Who's buying? If this is a business, like,
So, the Adventurers Club type tourist?
yeah,
Well, imagine, well, Jeeves is going up the river and he's going to come back with some souvenirs. And this
that's the
was
person.
the top of the line souvenir. So, once there was a value placed on it,
Oh
this
my
went
God.
from being a sacred object to a sellable object. And many, many different ways of them coming into the market happen. So it ended up doing in your neighbors and doing them out of that, doing in the local monkeys and making them out of that, making them out of hides and other animal products and skins.
Yeah,
They made them out of a myriad of different things. So even as they're trying to test these collections in different museums and personal collections around the world,
yeah,
because it's been illegal to trade in these
yeah,
since the 1930s. um, Out of Ecuador itself.
yeah,
Ecuador and Peru passed laws where
yeah,
they couldn't leave the country with these.
yeah.
They didn't make any laws about you can still make
You
these
can
legally.
still make them. You just
There's no
can't sell
laws
them.
on the books about
That's how we're going to
that
get them,
pertain
right?
to that, but you cannot export them out of the country, and a bunch of them are being
Oh my
repatriated
God.
back in to the country. And then there are a whole bunch of collections where various people, missionaries, cartographers, ethnobiologists,
Yeah,
over time had been in those countries, trafficked these items out. They got handed down, they got handed off to museums. It's really hard to tell real ones from fake ones, even if they're human remains.
oh,
So you can't even just like DNA test it and go, oh, that's human, that's a real one. Assange is very specific. It was part of a religious
yeah,
practice. So there's very specific ways to identify them. And there's like 30 different marks of types of tools, types of materials, types of processes where they can go in and now begin to authenticate these items and repatriate the ones that are
yeah.
appropriate to go back to the country. Because I'm sure the museums of Ecuador do not want a million goat skin fake
Yeah.
shrunken heads. So, since I don't have any,
Real ones.
real ones,
Good.
and
Because if you did, I'd be like, all right, how'd you get that?
so I have some fake goat skin ones in the basement because we've done some questionable parties in the
Yeah,
in the past, but the symbolism of the potency of the shrunken head
yeah,
or severed head is a big deal, and because that's the seat of power
yeah.
for, and it was recognized through millennium that hey, you take somebody's head and they're done. So we can make a joke out of some of these things
Yeah,
because they've been used and misused in representations all over
yeah,
everywhere, in movies, films.
yeah.
They found out one of the a real actual Sansa has been in a comedy and then was authenticated later and then returned to the Ecuadorian people. But they didn't realize at the time they were filming
It
that
was a
there
real.
was a real one inside
What's
that
the
glass
comedy?
jar.
Trading Places with Eddie Murphy.
No, no, but it's from the 70s.
Oh, okay.
And so it's in the article, but
So Tootsie then.
no, no, wrong wig, wrong wig. I've always had a fascination with
Well, me too.
severed and shrunken and otherwise intriguing heads.
Yeah,
And so they have seriously made it into the tiki ethos
absolutely.
because it goes right back to that tramping through the jungle and we're going to take home a blah blah blah, right?
Yeah,
So but I didn't know until I started doing research where they actually came from. Now there are depictions of heads and cannibals and headhunters and
yeah,
that throughout the the tiki thing.
yeah,
So like they're in bunches of places. So it's not just they're not just picking on one antique people,
Yeah.
one culture. So there's evidence of it throughout South America, Polynesia, uh, up to the Indian subcontinent. And sometimes it's for religious practice, sometimes it's for practicality because there would be like no large game on some of these islands. Um, Sometimes it was ancestor worship. You
Yeah.
took in a piece of your ancestor to be with them. Um, Sometimes it was part of the warrior culture. It just really
Okay.
depended on where you were. But the people who made shrunken heads were specifically in the Amazon basin of Ecuador and Peru,
Yeah.
the Jivaro peoples.
Okay.
There are 4 or 5 tribes, and they are now trying to go back and fix that relationship and how it's viewed. So when it comes to mugs, though, they're everywhere
Oh yeah.
and they have been produced for a lot of time. And the funny thing about the tiki community is we tend to take things that sometimes are really negative and turn them into a positive.
Yeah.
So, like for example, like one of the this is a really recent mug from Circa Caliente, an event in Palm Springs at the Reef, and they do an event mug every time, and
Is that Magnum
it is
PI?
Magnum PI done as a Sansa, and this one was done by
I
Ikambuka.
wonder how Tom Selleck feels about
John
that.
Mulder did this one, and it's really fun. And it came with a pack of, let's see, Magnum PI bubblegum cards
Oh my God.
as part of the thing, which I thought was hilarious. But once again, what they've done is they've taken an object that would have been super horrible,
Yeah.
and now they've made it an homage to something.
Yeah.
So, and then at like the Golden Tiki,
Yes.
they have where they honor people in the tiki community
Yes.
by making a shrunken head of them.
Yes.
And then they're displayed in the restaurant.
Hashtag that's my goal, actually. So everyone out there, if you're a fan of my show, talk to anyone that you see at the Golden Tiki and tell them we need to see a Tiki with Ray shrunken head at the Golden Tiki. That'd make my day. Instead of giving me a like, tell them that they need a Tiki with Ray mug. Could you imagine what I'd look like? It'd be easy. They'd have to get some
They'd have to get miniature
little
glasses.
glasses or something like that. No, what they do is you know what it'd look like. You know what it'd look like. Remember that hand puppet Hugo?
Yeah.
I'd look like Hugo,
But we'd have to find
but it'd be
miniature
shrunken.
glasses.
Yeah. Well, the miniature glasses come with Hugo. So there you go. I'm halfway there. All you gotta do is find like one of those toy Hugo guys. You get the little glasses. You make the shrunken head. Good to go. You don't even need hair.
So, things get memorialized in the tiki world
Yeah.
in strange ways. So there's Magnum, and then we knew that Trader Sam's
Yeah.
was going to be pulled from the parks in Disney, right? And the image of Trader Sam's is still around,
Yeah.
but they've removed the actual character in many cases.
Oh, really?
And so Shrunken Monkey did the two that are the infamous Trader Sam. Now, the funny thing is, Disney didn't even agree with itself
Yeah.
because the East Coast Sam looks incredibly different than the West Coast Sam.
Oh my God! Well, they look completely
Yeah,
different.
they look totally different. And so so once again, you've got this thing going where we're going to memorialize something, so let's turn it into a shrunken head.
Yeah.
And then the oldest one I have is
Look at that.
a decanter, and this is Italian.
Really?
And I have no idea.
Did you actually get this in Italy?
So I got this at an estate sale here in the United States.
Really?
And it's really, really old, but I can't find any information on it because at some point or another, some Italian guy went, "Well, that would be funny."
Is that your Italian accent, Gene?
No, that would be funny. So that would be my Italian accent. This kind of iconography has been around for us dark folk for a really long time.
Yeah.
And then they go from absolutely old to really super modern.
Yeah.
So like this one was last year.
Yeah.
At Circa. That was last year.
Right here.
So if we love something, I guess we shrink its head. This is from Strong Water in Anaheim.
Ooh.
So it's a shrunken creature.
Oh my God. And that is a cool mug too.
Just had to have him. Totally had to have him. And then you've got your one-offs for movies as well. So everybody remembers that awesome character in Beetlejuice.
Oh yeah, right here.
There's your head shrunk guy sitting on the couch in Beetlejuice, and he has a lid that comes off him too. He's not just a head; he is also a mug. We've got a number that came out of Tiki Farm, which I found very interesting.
Yeah.
This one on the end
Right here.
is really like you would see a Sansa. Sansa's real ones have really long hair. And it's not because the hair grew or anything. It's that when you take a person and you take a skull that's this big and you make it this big, the hair that would have only been this long to you
Yeah.
around your skull becomes looks this long to you when it's on a miniaturized skull.
So they don't remove the hair when they do this.
No,
So
the
this
hair
is
is
hair.
part of the thing. So in the mold, that's the
That's
hair.
supposed
They're
to be the
holding it
hair.
up
I
by the
always wonder
hair.
what that was. Okay, all right.
Then Tiki Tony did a riff on it, where you've got the unfortunate explorer here, where we see what he would have looked like, and then we see what happened later.
Boom.
I always thought it was kind of fun to have a skull with facial hair still on it. And then on the end,
I hope. Well, you know what? This is the first tiki mug I might actually where there's a guy with a beard on it. Probably. I don't know. I don't see too many guys with.
I've
The,
seen them do
but
like seafarers or pirates, and they'll have facial hair, but you don't generally see a lot of them with facial hair. And then on the end,
this one here.
yeah. So that one is by Tiki Diablo. That's Dan Gallardo,
Oh wow.
and that one is pretty rarefied air. There's not very many of those floating around. I think they only made like 250 of them. And that one's called the Unfortunate Explorer.
The unfortunate.
And
Explorer.
it is a riff on a item sitting in the Disneyland parks,
Yep.
Disneyland specifically, inside Bengal Barbecue. If you go off into the area that was all the South Sea traders before, half of that now is a seating area. So don't get confused when you're going, because it's changed from how it was originally
Yeah.
presented. But Shrunken Ned is back, and this is a riff of, and it looks really close.
Oh yeah.
To the original Shrunken Ned that's in the parks, and that is an animatronic, and it's sitting inside a big glass box. And the animatronics.
Could you imagine all these savages back in the day if they had animatronics? Hey, get out of here! You know.
Yeah, get off my lawn.
The skull starts talking to him.
So this one, you drop a couple quarters in Disneyland, and he animates.
Yeah.
And he talks to you, and he is a witch doctor, a jungle witch doctor, and it's all part of the story that is the Society of Explorers and Adventurers.
Yeah.
Tied into the Jungle Cruise and the Enchanted Tiki Room and the Skipper's Canteen and that. And he dispenses cards with prescriptions on them, and the prescriptions are all jokes.
Okay.
And they're really fun. And so I have a bunch of Shrunken Ned's cards, because whenever I go, of course, I have to dump money in the machine. It's a great maker. And he actually moves inside the box, and he's pretty great. So gotta have him. And then
we have a guy that's hiding behind Uncle Ned.
We do.
This is from the Philippines, is that right?
Yes. So I went and I rescued that.
But you didn't rescue the guy's head here. He looks like he got something.
Yes. So that is a mahogany carving from the Philippines of a native Igorot tribe member.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to be frightened by a native people, these were your guys.
Yeah.
So that, we know how horrible the Axis powers were in World War II. They were running scared from this tribe in the Philippines. These guys could go in, they could take the head off every single one of the aggressor army in that platoon, strip their camp of anything worth any value, and be gone in 5 minutes. Just poof. They were the badasses of the Philippines, and they are a native tribe that have been there. They're indigenous. So when I found this at a Goodwill, my sister and I found it at the same time, and she let me have it. So I took it up, and who's at checkout but a Filipino gentleman?
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, well, this could be awkward. So, but I couldn't leave it behind. It's the first of all, the carving in it is really
Yeah.
beautifully done. It's highly detailed. It's made out of mahogany,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
and it's depicting somebody protecting their home.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that it's got to be rescued.
Yeah.
So I was talking with a fellow up at the cash register, and he was looking at it and looking at me, like, oh, what's this lady buying this for? And I said, are you familiar with this particular tribe of the
Yeah.
Philippines? And he's like, no. So I told him about him. And by the time I was finished, he was like, oh, yeah, you got to put this up in your bar and you got to tell everybody about how badass we are.
Okay.
Like, okay. So, statue rescued, person empowered.
Yeah.
My
There you
job
go.
here is done. Oh, and we forgot one. This is Cheeky Tiki.
Tiki.
This is how it's depicted in Great Britain. That was a tough one to get.
Oi.
I know some people find shrunken heads and that distasteful. I find them
Yeah.
intriguing and powerful and interesting.
I completely agree with you.
And you really have to get behind the whole story.
Yeah.
And understand the whole thing.
Yeah.
To get ahead. You know I had to go there, right?
Yeah, you did. So you may be asking yourself, how can I join the Tiki Goth Club? Well, there is no membership. There are no fees. Well, things have changed. For $15, you can become a member of the Tiki Goth Club. What does $15 get you? It gets you your own membership card with your own number. You also get a couple stickers and a pin. I also have shirts for sale. These are $20, $5 shipping and handling. If you're interested in any of this, go to my website, tikiwithray.com, and there's a tab that says Tiki Goth Club. Just click on that, and all the information you need is there.